You're listening to the Creativepreneur Podcast, episode 19, and today we're talking about how choosing the right niche will help you define your ideal customer avatar and the big lie that stops most creative entrepreneurs from picking one. So, stay tuned. Hello, my name is Rodney Washington, author, artist, and entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about helping creatives just like you do what lights you up and make a comfortable living while doing it. Each week, I'll be sharing timely business growth, marketing, and mindset hacks and interviews with courageous creative entrepreneurs to inspire you to get paid for your creativity. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and enjoy today's show. Today's episode is sponsored by my free downloadable PDF checklist, How to Create a Highly Irresistible List Building Freebie and Attract Your Perfect Customers the Easy Way. Stop guessing what your ideal audience wants and start filling your email list with buy-ready people actively searching for your digital products, online courses, artwork, workshops, retreats, and one-on-one services. To grab your copy, visit my website at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/freebie checklist. Welcome back. Now, if you listen to episode 18 of the podcast, I introduced 3 questions that you must ask yourself before creating your next or first profitable list building freebie. And I shared why those questions are so important to get answers to before you move forward with actually creating and deciding what that freebie is going to be. Now, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I highly recommend that you stop listening to this one and go back and listen to episode 18, which will set up what I'm going to talk about and what I've got prepared for you today in episode 19, which is how choosing the right niche will help you define your ideal customer avatar. And I'm going to share the big lie that stops most creative entrepreneurs from even picking a niche to begin with. Now, in episode 19, I introduced you to providing your ideal customer avatar and the importance of doing this, providing them with a quick win or QVW, and why your freebie must accomplish this if you want to properly position your paid offer. I also talked about defining what the paid offer is and reverse engineering your freebie to your paid offer so that it segues seamlessly into presenting it and offering it for sale. Now, if you are in the beginning stages of getting clear on your ideal customer's avatar problem, the one they most want to have solved, and how to language it, you really want to go back and listen to that episode to get greater depth. So again, I highly recommend stopping this one, go back to episode 18, listen to that one, and then come back to this one. It'll provide more context for what I'm going to talk about today. But first, up until now, all of the episodes in this series, and as I said in last week's episode, I've positioned July as Create Your Independence, Creative and Financial Independence Month. And so all of the podcast episodes in this series this month has been around this topic, building up to what we're talking about today. Now, if you haven't listened to that series, I want to give you just a quick recap. In episode 15, I introduced the ultimate guide to creating a list building freebie, and I introduced part 1 in that episode. And that one I talked about what is an irresistible freebie. I talked about what makes it irresistible and the benefits of having one in your business. In episode 16, I covered part 2 of the ultimate guide. And in that one, I shared how I added over 600 plus new subscribers to my email list in less than 30 days with an irresistible freebie. I also introduced you to 15 totally irresistible freebie ideas to inspire you. I even gave you a complete list of those ideas also in the Ultimate Guide blog post. So the link to all of that is available in the show notes for this episode at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/019 for episode 19. Moving on to episode 17, I did a pretty extensive interview on how to fill your email list with buy-ready leads using quizzes and assessments with pet behaviorist Danielle Largo. That interview went into great depth about how she used quizzes and assessments, but more to the point, how she uses her assessment to then segue seamlessly into her paid offering and how she does that. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I recommend listening to that one also too. So if you're familiar with none of them, go back to 15, listen to 16, 17, 18, and then and it all stacks up to what I'm going to talk about today in episode 19 on choosing a niche and how that affects your ideal customer avatar. Now, again, the reason why I built all of this and why I decided more specifically what I chose and focus for 18 and 19, episodes 18 and 19, which is last week and today, is I felt it was important to focus on the who. Now, in episodes 15, 16, and 17, I focus a lot on what. What meaning what you could provide them. It could be a checklist, a telesummit series. It could be it could be an email series. It could be a Facebook group. It could be a podcast series. That's kind of the what. And I'd set that up to inspire you on what's possible that you could create. But I felt like that there was a piece that was really missing, which is why I shifted gears a little bit and decided to focus episode 18 and this one on the who, meaning your ideal customer and how you're going to best serve them, because everything stems from that. If you don't have the who right, then you won't know what to give them in order for them to buy from you. And not only that, but why they will buy it. So again, this is important. It's fine to get excited about the what, because it's kind of sexy to think about writing doing an ebook or doing an assessment or quiz or some of these other fun things you get to create and play. That creative energy in us wants to make stuff. So I get that. But it has to be rooted in tangible resources and information and intel that you can build into the physical thing or the digital thing that they will get. So that's why I wanted last week, episode 18, and this episode 19 to pull that information together so that you could get that information first before you get excited about the design of what the final thing is going to be. So that's what we're talking about today, is going to be the who and the why. Who and why they want this. And again, this is so important to get this from the start because it'll make your process so much easier, and it will do the thing. The number one reason why you're doing all of this is to segue people from that free offer into your paid offer, which will then be why we want to create buy ready leads. We want to attract buy ready leads, but that only happens if you address the who the ideal customer is and how you best serve them, and the why. Okay, so let's go right into this. Now, I want to share first kind of what inspired a lot of what I'm talking about in choosing the right niche. You may or may not have heard of him. There's an online internet marketer that I teased last episode that I was not going to talk about or introduce until this episode. So I'm going to introduce who I'm talking about today in this episode. His name is James Wedmore. I really, really enjoy his podcast. He has probably one of the best, most inspirational business related podcast, I think, on iTunes right now. And the name of the podcast is called the Mind Your Business Podcast. I would recommend checking that out. And I'll also put a link to it in the show notes as well. James has a program called Business by Design, which I'm not a member of, but it's a program he's launched now for about 3 years straight. And he's in the beginning, at the time you're listening to this, he's in the very beginning stages of getting ready to launch his Business by Design program. So in preparation for the launch of that program, which is going to be happening, I think, actually at the time you're listening to this, the launch has already started. I believe it starts on April the 29th or something like that. So you probably, as you're listening to this, it's probably going on in full swing right now. But anyway, if you go to his podcast at Mind Your Business, which I have a link to, I'm sure you'll find out where to learn more about that if you want to check it out. Anyway, James did a workshop, 2-day workshop, virtual workshop, about 2 weeks ago, I think at the time I'm recording this, called Nail Your Niche. And from the minute I heard him talk about it, I felt it was something I really wanted to do. I wanted to learn more about it and his formula for how to nail your niche. And I have to tell you, it's probably one of the best investments I've made in my business and just in my education. At the time that I invested in the program, I think it was a special he was running for $97. I think it's gone up to now $297. Even at $297, having gone through it myself in real time with him, I can't recommend it highly enough. It really helped to switch my thinking and get my thinking clear about what niching actually means. And again, what inspired me to create this episode of the podcast, because I feel that a lot of creatives in particular who have what some might call multi-passionate creatives, we struggle a great deal with choosing anything. And niching can be one that we really, really can struggle with. I know I'm raising my hand as I'm saying it, which is why I chose to take this virtual workshop. Now, I'm going to put a link to, you can still enroll in the workshop. It's still available at the time I'm recording this. I don't know if it will be available when this goes live, but as of now, it's available for, I think, $297. I'm not an affiliate. So I'm not getting paid any commission by recommending this, but having gone through the program myself in real time with him, I found nothing but great value and great nuggets out of it. And some of that I'm going to share with you in this episode also echoes a lot of what I talked about in episode 18. So if it sounds like a repeat, it is in many ways, but it's a context to why I'm talking about it in this way. So again, if you want to check out all of this, go to the show notes page at episode 19, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/019. And all of the links to James Whitmore's podcast and the Nail Your Niche training and all of that stuff is there. So go check that out if you want. All right. So again, in the training, James taught a very simple framework on how to choose a profitable niche. And I'm going to share a little bit about that and what I learned from him and how you can apply what I learned to what you're doing and why you want to pick a niche. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the big lies, as I've set that up in the title of this episode. The big lie that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, creative entrepreneurs in particular, and especially multi-passionate entrepreneurs struggle with, is feeling that if I choose a niche, I'm going to be pigeonholed. I'm not going to be able to switch. I'm not going to be able to do anything else. I'm going to be known for this and I'm going to be stuck. And that's the big lie. You're not stuck. None of us are stuck. And what I got out of this after going through James's training was a reframe in what I felt as a niche. A niche I always looked at as, what am I declaring myself to do or offer or be? And yes, that's a huge part of it. Absolutely. But it's not solely rooted in how you're naming yourself, what you're calling yourself, how you're introducing yourself. It's less about saying I'm a fill in the blank. I'm a painter, a copywriter, a teacher, or this or that or the other thing, because those things in many ways say nothing. And what I mean by that, it doesn't tell the listener how what you do benefits them. And that was the big takeaway I got from going through James's niche training, is learning how to language what you do to the person that could potentially buy from you, and not getting caught up in what I call myself. So if I'm focusing on calling myself a copywriter, for an example, since I'm a student of copywriting and I do write copy for clients, if I'm zeroing in on that and someone says to me, well, ask me, what do you do? And I say, I'm a copywriter. I do many other things. But let's go with this for a second. I could struggle with saying that, because that isn't the only thing I do. I'm also a photographer. I'm also, I guess, a graphics designer, because I design graphics for clients. I also set up WordPress websites. I also, I'm a passionate cook. I do a lot of different creative things. So in struggling to pick something or being so focused on, well, how am I introducing myself? I'm only focusing on me. I'm not focusing on the transformation and the problem that the problem I solve and the transformation I provide, or more to the point, the problem that my ideal avatar is looking for and how I solve that. And by understanding my ideal avatar, by understanding the problem that I solve, that will then introduce me to my ideal avatar. So I'm going to repeat that again. By understanding the problem that I solve or the desire that I help someone fulfill, I then introduces me to my ideal customer avatar. So I'm going to use myself again in this example. If I am focusing my copywriting skills on helping creatives and slash artists who want to set up online courses teaching their art or their craft or their skill, and I help them write attention grabbing, customer building copy that gets them more leads and gets them more sales for their course. I'm talking all about the solution I provide. I'm not talking, I mean, yes, in that is the title, I'm a copywriter, but I don't even have to say I'm a copywriter. I can say what I do. I write copy. Now, one exercise that I'm going to share with you that James did do with us that I found, and I wasn't even planning on talking about this in the podcast, but I'm going to introduce it. If you're a multi-passionate like me, and like many of us that are creatives, and you're trying to define what that thing is that you're going to then introduce yourself as, and maybe say there's two options. Say a declarative statement like what I just said, something similar. Like, I write copy for artists, creatives who offer online courses teaching their art. I help them write copy that gets them leads and sales. Okay. When you make that declarative statement, James suggests holding your hand over your heart when you're saying it and have a couple of different things, a couple of different outcomes that you would be able to provide based on what you know you can deliver, and see what your heart is telling you is the one that's resonating with you. Because if you're trying to make decisions with your head, as he stated in the training, that's not the place to look for the answer for your niche. Your niche must come from your heart. And if you feel it in your heart as you're saying how you serve people, and you feel it in that way, that your heart's confirming which way to go. It does not mean that everything else that you're good at or you're passionate about gets kicked to the curb. It just means for the purpose of dialing it in and being able to serve in a very tightly focused way. Once you're able to do that and generate the income that you want from that, everything else that you want to do will still benefit from it. Now, will it be a profit center for your business? Not all at the same time, no, but you can always layer on things as you go. And I feel, and what I learned, what I walked away from that training was an understanding, is that one focus will influence all the other things should I choose to create a profit center out of those other passions. So again, think about that as you are, again, get away from the title, what you're calling yourself, and focus on the transformation, the skill, the thing that you do that gets a person a very specific result. And that's why as you're going through your interviews and you're interviewing people and trying to get clear about the problem, how does that connect to what you do? How does that connect to the service you provide? Maybe the deliverable is copy. Maybe it's photography. Maybe it's graphic design. Maybe it's a course. Maybe it's, it's a live workshop. Maybe it's a one-on-one. The deliverable you determine as you get the intel that you need, as you collect the intel that you need. But again, as you're collecting that intel from where the customer is, you're also matching it to what you know you can do, what your deliverable is. So why I feel and why I wanted to lay this out, the benefits of choosing the right niche determines your highest skill set, meaning the thing that you are most qualified to do and love to do, because that's really important. Okay. And it should be something that's based on your greatest passion and that will affect in how you talk about yourself. And again, not talking about yourself from the perspective of giving them a vague one word answer, which then makes them have to keep asking you questions to find out exactly what problem you solve and who you serve. By you labeling, calling it out when you introduce yourself, the person who needs that will go, ah, okay, I want to know more, or I know someone who needs this. And I did a podcast episode on this topic about how we talk about ourselves and how we introduce ourselves. I can't remember the number offhand, but I will put the link in the show notes so you can go and get that and check that out. The second part of the benefits of choosing a niche is it helps you get clear on who's struggling with the problem or the issue or the desire that your skill set is most qualified to solve. Okay, so again, once you're clear on the problem, you have your secret formulas, you have your frameworks, you have your recipes, you have your techniques, you have your skills and abilities, and all of those things that you've acquired and used and blended and mixed up and made something special to solve that person's problem. But once you get clear on that, you'll know how to then implement it. And that's another benefit of choosing a niche that's based on serving, not on what you're calling yourself. Okay. It forces you to get focused and clear on specific issues so you can more easily create content that would appeal to them, like an irresistible list building freebie or other valuable content like blog posts, podcast interviews, and what you post on social media. So again, choosing a niche, getting clear about the problem that you solve, knowing how your skills and talents and abilities will then qualify you to solve that issue or provide that dream or that benefit that person wants. How doing that forces you to get focused and clear on very dialed in specific issues. By doing that and you knowing what those issues are, then you'll know what to make your freebie about. Then you'll know what to create other content that supports the freebie. Again, blog post, podcast, social media, what you post, the images you pick, the videos you create, everything gets centered around that clarity. And ultimately, getting clarity about or choosing your niche ultimately shapes your paid product or service, how you write copy for it, and how you talk about and deliver it. I'll repeat that. When you're clear about choosing the niche, when you've chosen the niche for you, that will shape what you offer for sale and how you market it, meaning your copy, how you talk about it, and how you deliver it. So, what I provided in the podcast episode was just a few of the questions, which actually I really addressed in episode 18, but I'm just going to review them here really quickly. These are just bullet points that James talked about in the presentation, which really inspired, again, this podcast. So, when you're identifying your niche, again, it's not about what you're calling yourself. Get the title out of your head. I'm calling myself a fill in the blank. It's ask these base that on answering these questions. Who do you serve and how do you serve them? That's really the core foundation of identifying your niche. More specifically, you can answer one of these 2 to 4 questions. Who specifically do you serve? I said in my call out avatar, I love to serve artists, creatives that are wanting to create or teach or do teach online courses teaching their art, craft, or skill. What problem specifically do I solve? I solve the problem for them in helping them position and talk about their course in a way online that gets people energized and enticed to want to learn more and buy from them. So how they name their course, how they write emails for it, how they make their sales page, how they talk about it in their marketing so that they can entice people to want to go and learn more about it. Okay. How specifically do I serve them? How do you serve them? So for me, I can serve them through one-on-one private work. Eventually, I will have a course around this, but right now I'm focusing on one-on-one work so I can help. I can look at what you currently have and I can look at your copy and work on rewriting it and re-engineering it and repositioning it so that it gets you more attention, which leads to more leads, which leads to more leads, that leads to more sales. Okay. So the how. And using all of my skills in copy and photography and design and setting up sales pages and email marketing systems, all of those things, and plus a strong intuition and a passion for art and a passion for creativity and a passion for teaching, all of that fits into this. So all of those talents, all of those things get brought into this and helps me to then better serve my clients. Okay. So that's how. Why specifically you? I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I'm a photographer. I've designed and set up online courses. I understand internet marketing. I understand how to write copy. I understand the value of copy. I know how to set up web pages and websites. I know how I have the advantage because a lot of creatives are not necessarily technologically inclined. They don't really care to learn all of the stuff that I've spent years learning how to do. So the advantage that I have and why specifically me is because I understand what it is that you need in the most basic and simple of way. I don't overcomplicate things, and I don't set up things for my clients where it makes them dependent upon me to manage them. Someone else may do it differently. They may not come from the background. They may not love art. They may not appreciate creative. They may not have a teaching mind. I have that as my advantage. So that makes it answer the question, why me? Why specifically me? And where are they right now? That's the next question that he asks. So, where are they right now? Let's say if they've been trying to get a course online for, say, months or years, they haven't been able to do it because they don't get the technology. They get over frustrated with how to position it, how to record and put it all together. I mean, it's a million moving parts. So if I understand that's part of where they are right now, I can then speak to all of that in my copy. Is why I'm doing this podcast series. The first part of the building selling a course is building a list. You've got to have a list. You've got to have leads. So knowing what options are available to you, the best ones that you can choose from for your particular issue, understanding now what goes into making that freebie attractive, how to position it, and how to lead it to your paid offer. That is all the particular issues of where my ideal customer avatar is. And I can address those in my content. This podcast is content. Future trainings I'm putting together is content, which will address these issues and lead them to the solution that I provide. So again, answering these questions are all great places from which you can create your irresistible freebie. So what you and how you communicate with your audience. Now, if you have current clients or students, reach out to them, as I said in last week's episode 18. Ask them, get on the phone, interview them, research them online, find out where they are right now. That is the number one, most important thing that you could possibly do. You've got to get intel to find out where they are right now so that you can reverse engineer your free offer to segue seamlessly into your paid offer. So again, you getting clear about your niche, about your niche determines who you serve. It determines your ideal customer avatar. So all of the questions that I posed here from James's course, those notes, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. So you can answer those questions for yourself. Again, share some of them with me inside of Instagram. I shared that last week. I'll share it again. Share inside of Instagram with me. I will respond. I promise I will respond. I am looking forward to responding. I want to see that you're using what I'm sharing with you and getting results from it. So please do that. So again, the notes from that, some of them, it was a whole lot more. It was basically 2 days and roughly about 3+ hours per day. So it was a long training, but he over delivered amazingly. So again, I recommend taking the training. Again, I'm not an affiliate. I'm not getting paid a dime for recommending it. I'm just saying it's a good training. Go check it out. The link's in the show notes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about headlines. I'm not going to get into this too heavily. I think I'm going to save this and get into this more heavily next week because this is sort of what I talked about, a quick, valuable win. This is what I feel like could be a great way to get a quick, valuable win out of what I'm sharing with you today. As I said in last week's episode, building up to this week's episode, everything that you do has to call out the person that wants and needs what it is that you're offering. Okay? So I'm not going to go into tremendous depth into this right now. I feel like I want to save this more for the next episode, which I'm going to talk about on headlines. Because again, as I mentioned in episode 18, your headline, the focus of your headline in the regards to writing copy, its main function is to do one thing, and that is to get the person to read the next line. And the second line gets them to read the third line, and so on and so forth. So, for the interest of just giving you a little quick win today, and I'm actually going to break this down and go into much more depth into this in episode 20, I believe, yeah, 20, on how to craft that headline. I'm going to talk more about that in depth. But I want you to give you a little exercise that you can practice with right now in order to help you craft, get some familiarization with crafting a headline that will call out the person that would be interested in opting in for your free offer. Okay. So, taking everything that I've shared to this point, what I want to do is I want to share with you again, and I talked about this in episode 13 when I did the book review on Ryan Levesque's book Choose, and I did a video training there on how to use tools like or resources like Udemy and Amazon and Skillshare and the like to find out what people are saying about a particular product or service that you would construe as competition to your thing that you're thinking about putting together or have put together. If you have your own already and you're getting reviews, even better, even great. If you have customers already, I recommend this over what I'm going to say to you to do. But it's still not a bad idea to go check out, quote unquote, the competition and see what people are saying. And more specifically, read the reviews because people typically will leave very honest reviews. So again, go back and look at episode 13. I'll put the link in the show notes there. And there's a video tutorial there that will show you how to basically create a spreadsheet that you can use in Excel or Google Docs or whatever. And you can go to these websites that I recommended, Udemy, Amazon, Skillshare, and you want to look at reviews and you want to copy the copy that people wrote, the things they wrote. Because in that information is the beginning stages of your copy for your headline. So, what makes good copy is not making it up in your head, but it's about taking what the customer that you wanting to attract is already saying about the issue, the problem, or the thing that they want, and putting it back on them, using their words to write your copy. So again, as I said before, I'm going to actually go into more depth about this and how to construct headlines next week, but I wanted to give you that as a little walkaway lesson. Check out episode 13, check out the tutorial on how to do what's called copy stocking and start pulling those together. And then I want you to play with a little formula that's really simple. It's a really simple headline formula that I think will help get you into the head space to then start writing headlines for your freebie and other content that you're going to create. And the headline formula is this: how to get blank without blank. Okay, I'll say it again. How to get blank without blank. Okay. As I said in episode 15, I believe, in the Creating the Ultimate List Building Freebie Guide, I said that people want two things. They want something, and they want what they want, and they also have a dream that they're willing to go for and what they're willing to do to get it. What they want to avoid to get it. I'm sorry. What they want to avoid to get it. They want what they want and what they want to avoid to get it, or will keep them from getting it. Okay, so for an example, if I am a photographer who teaches or offers workshops, on location workshops to, let's say, Italy, and I'm trying to put together a headline for some kind of a freebie that I want to put together to get people to join my list that I could then present my photography workshops to in future. I could say my headline could be something like, and I'm making this up off the cuff, but I could say something like how to photograph the best churches or the best churches in Rome at peak tourist season without the crowds. If I'm a person that knows what the Italy can be like at top tourist season, it's nothing but crowds. But if you have an in on how to get them into those places without the crowds, that that would call out a person who understands, I want to do this, but it's always so crowded. I don't want to deal with that again. If your freebie calls that out or your headline calls that out, I'm going to pay attention to that. So, in other words, you need to know what it is that they want to get or what they want to avoid and what they want to avoid. What they want to get and what they want to avoid. So that's why that headline, how to get blank without the thing I don't want to deal with, the thing I want to avoid. Okay. Um, and you can play with this. Now, I'm going to use just for this quick example here, and I'm going to go much more in depth in this in episode 20 on headlines and writing copy, beginning writing copy for headlines. I did some research on watercolor painting, watercolor painters, instructors on Amazon, YouTube, and Vimeo, I believe, or not Vimeo. I'm sorry. I'm getting the courses. Udemy, Skillshare, and Amazon. And in the video tutorial that I have on episode 13, you actually see me going through those steps and looking at what I'm reading. One of the call outs that I read when I was looking at the reviews was for a watercolor painter course. And the person commented, I don't remember which platform it was, but said that they wanted their watercolor paintings to look more realistic and not like cartoons. That's very, very specific. Okay. So what I did was I crafted up a potential headline that read, 3 quick ways to confidently paint watercolor landscapes. I could change landscapes to dogs, to flowers, to whatever, but I just use landscapes because, again, specificity sells. So, 3 quick ways to confidently paint watercolor landscapes that look realistic and don't look like cartoons. Okay. If I'm going to learn how to watercolor paint, and I'll tell you, before I read the headline out again, the reason why I put the word confidently in the headline is because when I was going through the reviews, the thing I saw over and over and over again was confidence. This course gave me the confidence to paint watercolors. I kept reading that over and over and over again. So I knew that was an issue, that people wanted to build up their confidence to be able to paint and enjoy this particular artistic expression. Now, I don't personally have 3 quick ways. I'm not a watercolor painter or a watercolor painter instructor. But if I taught that and I understood what I could teach someone how to do in order to make their watercolor landscapes, if I knew also that that's what my audience wanted to learn how to do, and I knew 3 quick ways, or it could be 5 or 7 or whatever, if I knew a way to help them get that, and I knew that the issue they struggled with was that they feel like their stuff comes out looking like cartoons and not realistic. And I knew how to language that, and I knew how to deliver that. That would be a good headline for me to consider putting out there to my audience. Now, again, you have to back it up and know you can deliver it. So again, and that's again goes back to the niche, the whole ideal niche. When you pick the right niche, that's rooted in what you know you can deliver. So again, once you get that clear, you can then craft a headline based on what you know you can deliver, based on what you know your ideal person is struggling with, and based on what you know they want and what they avoid. And you get that down, you can then start writing powerful headlines that will attract the attention of the person that you want to get on your list and move them closer to becoming a buy ready lead. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it with that introduction. I'm going to put this in the show notes here. We're going to go into much more depth about this in the next episode about headlines and headline formulas and things that you can do. But again, all of this, every single thing that I'm saying is all rooted in you doing the homework from episode 18 and getting clear about who you serve, the problem, all of that, and then the niche clarification in this episode. Do that work first. go over episode 13 and look at that video training on how I actually was able to collect copy. So I knew what people were saying and how they were feeling about the issue they were struggling with. Do that information first. That will set up what I will talk about in episode 20, which is going to be more in depth about copy and coming up with your headlines and the title of your freebie, to be more specific. How to title your freebie. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up there at that. I think I gave you enough homework to do for now. So check all of that out. All the links to everything is going to be in the show notes. Check all of that out. Again, please connect with me on Instagram at Creatorpreneur Podcast. That's my handle. The link is going to be in the show notes at for episode 19. I'm sorry. And check out with me, and I will respond back to you, and let's get a conversation going. And then next week we're going to go into episode 20. We're going to go more into crafting what that call out headline is going to be. That's going to help you get people to actually sign up for your list. So all is a part of a series. I'm actually going to continue this conversation into the month of August. So there's a lot more to share with you. Again, if you see anyone or you find anyone that's found value in this or you think will find value in this, please share it with them. I'd love it. Send them over to iTunes to subscribe to the show. You subscribe to the show. That way you don't miss any of the episodes. Do that. Leave a review if you'd like. Let me know what I can do to make it better, what I can improve. And let's get this thing going. So anyway, I'm really excited. I'm happy, and I hope that you're getting value out of what I'm sharing. And I'll see you on episode 20. Take care and have a good week. Bye-bye.